Let's talk about rookie furnishing mistakes I see people do when setting up an Airbnb. If you're new here, hello, my name is Haley. I am 20 years old. I currently have 29 Airbnbs. Started a little over a year and a half ago, and last month was my first 100K month. So I have a pretty good experience, I feel like, to be talking about this topic. I've also been getting a lot of requests for like interior design tips and like where they went wrong. So let me just take you through my thought process. When setting up an Airbnb, the most important part is truly your budget. I got my first 3 Airbnbs. I had a budget of about 15K. In the beginning, I kind of got carried away and it really negatively affected my break-even time. You do not want to spend too much money and you do not want to spend not enough money. So creating a budget in the very beginning is key. For reference, my 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartments, I've been spending around $5,000 to $6,000 on, depending on the market grade. So if it's like a luxury building, it might be closer to 7. If it's a B grade building, it's probably closer to that 5 or 6 range. Now, I just recently set up my first batch of studio apartments. So they're about 400 square feet and about $3,000 staging them. My biggest properties I have are 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath townhomes. When it comes to homes, there's usually a lot more work and like love you need to put into them. With apartments, they're pretty small. The amenities help, but when you're working with like townhomes or homes in general, they're usually a lot bigger, so you need a lot more picture frames and like fake plants and pillows. So they usually cost a little bit more. Especially your first few, you're going to be very, very excited. You're going to want to buy probably everything. Always splurge typically on my common areas because that's where everyone is going to be hanging out, watching TV, movies. That is usually where I invest the most amount of my money, unless there's like an experience part of my Airbnb. One of my units, the main focus is actually the backyard. So I ended up spending a lot more money in the backyard than I did in the living room. Finding your focal point of your property and then investing the most amount of money into that specific area. That brings me to my another tip, which is quality. You need to know what to splurge on and what to save on. When I started, I bought really cheap mattresses just because I didn't have the budget to buy more expensive ones, and I was just trying to like penny pinch to make the most money. In return, it actually ended up costing me more money because the guests were complaining so much about the mattresses that I literally had to buy new ones. Bought cheap, and then I ended up spending double because I had to buy a really nice one eventually. Same thing for dining tables. I bought cheap dining tables. The chairs broke literally immediately. You can spend money on the mattresses, the couches, the dining tables, and then things like, you know, your nightstands or the lamps. Those are things you don't necessarily need to splurge on. Another question I get asked a lot is where I buy everything. Beds, bed frames, couches, things like that are typically all through Amazon. And if they're not through Amazon, then I find local like warehouses or outlet stores where they have like name brand furniture, but it's just discounted because it's overstock or it's out of season or it went on clearance. Any warehouses, outlets, and then Amazon. Honestly, I get a lot of my stuff from Amazon. There's really never anything super new, which is the only downfall. But Wayfair is also a really great option. And then decor. I personally like to see the space before I buy decorations. Sometimes pictures can be a little misleading. I just go get the decorations myself from like Ross, Home Goods, World Market, Walmart, Target. All of those places have really cute decor that is just relatively cheap. Actual pillows like that people sleep on in the beds, I get those from Costco. They're super cheap, really good quality. I love putting fake plants into my properties. It really just like livens up the space and makes it feel a lot more rich than it is. Hobby Lobby always has sales on their fake plants. A lot of the time fake plants are like more than real plants, $100 plus for like decent one, but you're gonna be spending more than $100 if you want like a really big nice one that's good quality and not gonna break or fall over. Hobby Lobby, they usually have like 25 to 50% off. I literally went in and bought like every single plant they had. I would say those are primarily every single place I shop. I've had really good experiences with all of them. Next thing I want to talk about is aesthetics. All of my guy students come to me and they're like, how do you do it? Like, how did you know what colors to choose? How did you make it look so cohesive? And honestly, my best piece of advice is to choose 3 colors. You cannot go wrong with black and white, and then I usually like to add an accent color. Rust orange, I love green tones, or beige. The only thing about like whites and beiges is they usually get dirty really, really fast, and that's like you're gonna have to replace them, or guests are gonna be unhappy. It's not gonna look as clean or as fresh. So I usually like to stick with the darker tones like blacks, grays, greens, royal blues, rust oranges, because it's a lot harder to see the wear and tear. Choose 3 colors, choose like 2 basics and then 1 like pop of color, and just bring that color throughout the whole entire space. Trust me, you do not have to be an interior designer to do Airbnb. I know it can be a little intimidating, especially for the guys. Next thing I always like to keep in mind is the cleanability. A lot of the times I see people buying things and I'm like, why would you buy that? Like suede headboards, and like I'm just thinking, imagine getting a stain out of a suede headboard. that sounds like it's not going to come out. Knowing textures and how things clean is really, really important. Like, I would never get a white chair because imagine the stains that white chair is going to get. So cleanability, how easily can things be cleaned? Leather is really good. I really like leather couches. If someone spills something, you can easily wipe it down. So I love leathers. Just think long-term cleanability, how easily are the things going to clean, because in the long run that is going to affect you. Another thing to keep in mind is how easily these things can be replaced. One of my favorite stores is World Market, but the only thing I don't like about them is that they have very, very unique pieces. So say I put a super unique dining table in my property, and this is kind of like a really big focal point of the property. Say it breaks and it's completely ruined. Can I go to World Market and get that same table 2 years later? Probably not. Probably will really upset your next guest because that's the dining table you have in your photos. So not only will you have to get a new table, but you also have to take new photos and probably compensate your upcoming guests in some way or another. Replaceability, how quick can you get it and can you get it at all? Another thing is just being realistic and like how things function. So a lot of the times things can be really, really cute, but not functionable. Having accent chairs, but they're super tiny, there's like no point in having them. Or like adding things that take up space that you think are cute, but really just end up making the space cluttered and less functionable if they're really needed or if they're actually just going to take up additional space. Another really important thing when furnishing a property is to think of like things that you would like in your own home. So for example, me personally, I love sleeping with a pitch black room. And I know a lot of my guests do as well. So what I do is I always have blackout curtains in every single one of my units. It is definitely an expensive investment, but people, I swear, will thank you. They will leave good reviews. Like, I swear I've never had so many good compliments about having blackout curtains. Nurses who work, all night and then have to sleep during the day. If you have no curtains, like, they're going to be very, very upset and they will tell you. Just little things that add that extra zhuzh to the space. I love having accent pillows. Like, you don't realize how much an accent pillow does until you add an accent pillow. And then you're like, dang, like my space went from down here to up here just because of 3 pillows that I added, or even 1 pillow, or even a nice pretty throw on the bottom of your bed. Like, there's so many little things that really zhuzh up a space. Don't overlook those. That's basically all of my rookie Airbnb furnishing mistakes I see a lot of people do, a lot of new hosts, a lot of experienced host. There's always space for everyone to learn, but those are some of the things I've learned over the past year and a half. If you have any other tips and tricks you'd like to recommend to me and my followers, please feel free to comment down below. But I look forward to seeing you guys next week for my YouTube video. If you have suggestions, comment down below. Don't forget to thumbs up this video, and yeah, I'll see you next week. Bye!